1 second. Are we live? We are live. All right, now we're here. Wait, we're missing one more. Come on. There, there he is. Holy cow. All right. So we got Denzel Snipes. That's me. We got the undisputed Sumner. That's him. We got the numbers guy, Sean Rusty. Welcome back. We even got Sean's dog in the back. What's up, little homie? You know what I'm saying? And welcome to this epidemic. This show is an epidemic. Welcome to this edition of Top Rope Talk. We are your hosts, the one and only Denzel Snipes, Undisputed Sumner, and the numbers guy, Sean Rusty. Right now, you are watching us live from the Sideline Sports and Entertainment YouTube, JB's LinkedIn, also his X account, and also on his Facebook. But we are on Instagram, Facebook, of course, YouTube. Follow us on all of our socials. Also, sideline-se.com. This man right here to my right, he just put a fire article out on one of the matches that we will be covering on this telecast. So please go and read it. But that's sideline-se.com. I'm a fan of the site. You should be a fan of the site. And I know y'all know what time it is. We are going to get into it. And this is the SummerSlam 2026 recap show. We got a lot to talk about. I know these two got a lot to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it for SummerSlam Night 1. All right, y'all. So they decided to kick off night one with a bit of a thriller, right? So we started off with a world title match. We've got the Women's World Championship. We got Liv Morgan defending against the 2026 Women's Queen of the Ring, Io Sky. I really thought Sky was going to come away on this one, and it was going to turn into an angle where it's like, okay, Sky owns Liv, and Liv can't beat her or anything like that. Also previously made a prediction that Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez would turn, but that all went to shit. But in a stunner, to me at least, Liv Morgan walked out with the gold. Let's start off with you, Sean. What do you think about this match?
Yeah, so other than the technical difficulties with my background, appreciate it. Yeah, we'll get through this eventually. But with I thought the match laid a great omen for the finishes for the rest of the two nights. It was a one move, two moves, three moves before Liv actually pinned her there at the end. I thought it was a great finish. I thought the match itself, again, debatable how many times we can do these run-ins and make it still acceptable. At some point, Liv, just kind of like Roman's doing on this run, has to win some matches one-on-one. Be very interesting to see where she goes next, because you would still figure, I know they just gave Raquel gold, so are we reestablishing the Judgment Day? But I've said it on the show before, it's more of a female group to me now. I really think it's time for Dom and JD to go their own separate ways. But it'd be interesting to see, because I don't think you're going to pit Liv and Raquel versus each other when they're each holding a strap.
Yeah, true. Yeah, indeed. So overall, what'd you think of the match? You thought it was okay? You thought it was great?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought the ending, like I said, set up the rest of the two nights, but I thought it was okay overall. Nothing that we hadn't seen, unfortunately, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I do. I am a fan of how of what happened at the end. How Liv appeared to hit one Oblivion, but now Wade Barrett, he had mistakenly said she ate the Oblivion. But now I saw it live, but then you saw it on the replay. Is Io Sky countered by rolling out of it, but Liv stuck with it and actually nailed the Oblivion for a 3 count. Tyler, your thoughts on this match? What'd you think?
Yeah, so kind of with all these matches that like the first match of the first night of SummerSlam kind of sets the tone for how the weekend's gonna be, right?
Okay.
Unpredictable. I felt like this weekend was kind of with SummerSlam, and we'll get more into that talking night two. But I think it's still furthering the story of Roxanne's the only one without a title in Judgment Day.
Right.
Vaquer, from what I've heard, is still hurt. I thought the match, I'd probably give the match a good 6.5 out of 10. The one thing that really caught my eye was the botch from Io when she was doing the bullet train attack to the ring post. It
Mm-hmm.
actually looks like she actually hurt herself.
Yeah.
In that, I don't know. The camera kind of cut away. Um, after the match was over, and Io kind of had to be helped out. It looked like to sorts. I don't want to elaborate on that too much, just because nothing's been reported, if you will. But something to keep an eye out on there. I really liked the finishing sequence, the spot between Io reversing Oblivion on her hands, then Liv hitting a code breaker, and then hitting Oblivion to win it. Thought that was absolutely beautiful. Um, Better chemistry than I thought they were initially going to have,
Yeah.
considering that the match at Night of Champions was a bit sloppy, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. But overall, I think maybe Stephanie Vaquer comes back tonight. Who knows? But Roxanne Perez has a match with Sol Ruka tonight, so maybe we'll see Liv screw Roxanne again, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe that'll further the story. But overall, for that match, I'd probably give it about a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a more than decent match, but Liv comes away with the gold, and this is now only her second title defense, successful title defense since WrestleMania. They got to do something about that. Let's move on to our next matchup. So we got Knight Solo and Royce Keys standing tall against the Bloodline. Now I have said this afterwards is I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm mad at Solo Sokoa, but I think all of us on this panel can agree that the biggest pop of the night was when Solo Sokoa ran it back on Jey Uso. That crowd exploded when that happened. But Sean, give me your thoughts about this match.
Yeah, so I mean, Solo has really sold himself as a babyface here over the last couple of weeks since they split him off from the thing. And I don't know if this was the direction or if Solo was like, screw it, I'm just gonna, grab the brass ring here and do a few things. And if they don't like it, they can obviously tell me. But the fans took to it, and it seems to have worked here. I'm still not ruling out a swerve of this down the end, especially now that Haku is involved in Friday nights. That's very interesting to me, especially with the ties to Jacob and especially Roman. But I think they did the right call here because if I don't want to say it gives away the Roman and Seth finish if the Bloodline wins, it doesn't do anything to hurt the bloodline with this loss. It does more to elevate Keys, Knight, and Solo with this victory. It doesn't really hurt the Usos other than the infighting that it will probably cause on Raw tonight. But there's a lot more layers to that bloodline stuff that I'm sure we're going to see unfold. And I think that's part of the how they're going to keep certain main events apart is Solo's going to get a shot at Roman, or there's going to be tag matches with Roman, and it's going to keep the belt out of certain people's view for a little bit.
Yeah, from what I had heard is the original plan was for Solo Sokoa to rejoin the bloodline, but apparently so Solo tried his hand at being a face, the last couple weeks leading up to SummerSlam, and the crowd seemingly has warmed up to him. And now, especially after what we saw at SummerSlam, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, anytime soon. But we'll pass it on to Tyler. Tyler, what were your thoughts about this match?
Yeah, I thought this was a fine match, especially the finish. Jay sold his ass off
He did.
for that BFT. He
He did.
spiked
That was the
himself.
nastiest BFT I'd seen. That was like a
Like,
BFT tombstone.
but, the kind of letdown of this match was not really too much from Jacob in a way, right? Like this felt like more Jay, all that. Jacob had his moments with Royce and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and they're going one-on-one tonight on Monday Night Raw, so that should be a great match.
Yeah.
But not a lot of Jacob in this match, and we do know that there's inner turmoil that Jacob doesn't like listening to the Usos.
Right.
He only listens to Roman.
Mm.
So that's something to note there. But I thought everyone else did fine. I think my takeaway star from the match would be Solo Sikoa.
Easily.
Um, the minute that Solo won me over as a face was when he came out last Monday night on Raw and he went, "This your warning shot, boom pew pew pow bow."
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
And
I
then when
like
he
that a
called,
lot.
and then when he mentioned L.A. Knight, and then like right then Knight's entrance hit, like that was great. That was great
Yep.
timing. But now I will tell you that in last week's article, when I was doing the preview and predictions, I did predict that the Usos would carry the Bloodline side of the match. For some reason, I was like, okay, On the bloodline side, we're going to see more from the Usos than Jacob for whatever reason. I said
I,
that the Usos would carry that side. Go
I
ahead.
think some of it is layering, but it's also just protection because he's not. Jacob's not a tag wrestler. Even in the War Games matches, back then he did what he was supposed to do, but it wasn't like he was ever a focal point of those matches. He's just not a team wrestler type guy. I'm glad I'm glad they're. You said it's Jacob and Royce tonight, Tyler.
Yes, Jacob and Royce
Yeah, I'm
tonight.
glad
Yes.
they're doing it, but I would have liked to see this at a PLE. I think there's plenty of story to flesh this out. But I think this is we're gonna tell tonight. Really, is Solo solidified as a face, or did they just swerve us for the last 4 weeks getting him over?
Yeah, very true. Very, very
You know,
true on that one.
I've always said this. There's two big Raws of the year, and a lot of people sleep on it. The biggest Raw of the year is obviously the Raw
Night
after
after
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania.
And the second biggest as of late has
The
become
night
the
after
Raw after
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
No, because if you
And
think
you know
about
what?
the Raw after
I'm gonna
Royal
go out on
Rumble
a
is
limb
kind
and
of
say this.
predetermined, so it's not as exciting as these two.
True.
Right, and I will go out on a limb and say this. I think SummerSlam as a whole was better than both nights of WrestleMania this year.
And
I
you
think
know what?
I just think the matches were better and they weren't as short.
Yeah.
Well, and
No,
that's,
no.
I think we've had TKO be like, okay, we'll back off here. Because if you look at what's happened between the free hour has now disappeared. I don't know if
Yep.
anybody noticed that the free hour is
Yes.
gone.
SmackDown scaled it back to 2 hours.
Sack SmackDown's back to 2 hours. But I think, especially with certain wins and calls that were made this weekend, I think they've kind of backed off here a little bit. I don't think if TKO is involved, and we can talk about it in a minute, I don't think Baron Corbin wins if TKO is making that call.
Okay, yeah, most definitely, and we'll most definitely get to that in a minute on the next match that I actually look forward to highlighting, and that is one Nick Aldis. So, in my honest opinion, I think he stole night one. This is a man who had been out of the sport, well, out of the ring for 3 years. He comes back. Sean, I was hoping he would come back as Magnus. I wanted him to channel Magnus, you know what I mean? But it was all good. Obviously, for the time period, it was a one-off match. He's reinstated as the general manager of SmackDown. We'll get into what he did in night two in just a minute. But really, really loved it. Gunther, I had Gunther winning anyway in my article. This match was less about Gunther. I got Gunther to win, and more about what Nick Aldis am I going to see? What are we going to see here? He's going to have ring rust, but y'all, it's like the man never left. Sean, talk to me. What you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, if this is a one and done for him, and this is his swan song, I mean, he really nailed it. I know there's, I don't think he's gonna be a long time ring act, but if there's a chance that he can get in once in a blue moon, he's definitely not Michael Cole in there, so you could use him more. But no, he moved well, and he's a good sized guy, so it's believable that he could take Gunther to the limit if he's wrestling well. And I think, as usual, Gunther did great heel stuff, jumping up on the table and celebrating real quick. And then I think at the end of the match, kind of the cocky, he pushed me harder than I thought he would. But I thought overall, even when they show Unreal, season 4, we'll see Gunther back there going, Jesus Christ, I didn't think he could go like that.
He can go exactly. He pulled out all pretty much. Well, he didn't hit the MDD driver, but we saw the Kingsland Cloverleaf. We saw the diving elbow. We did see a lot of Magnus's old repertoire. But Tyler, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so this from an in-ring perspective, I think was the best match of night one. From an technical and in-ring standpoint. What really the story I take away from this is you go back to and look. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch his most recent interview on the Chris Van Vliet show. He was emotional when Chris Van Vliet asked him, how much does this match mean to you? And he said all he ever wanted was one chance to wrestle inside of a WWE ring.
He did.
And he got it, and he delivered.
And
he doesn't need to be a full-time wrestler anymore. He's a damn good general manager, better than Pierce, because Aldis can actually have control of a show.
Okay.
Adam Pearce, every time I don't know if you see backstage segments on Monday Night Raw. Every time Adam Pearce seemingly is involved in a backstage segment, a brawl is on the other side of the arena. Aldis lets fights happen. A few that they kind of teased with Nick Aldis a while ago. I would be interested to see if they capitalized on it. I would like to see Nick Aldis versus Drew, possibly with a payoff match. Because they did tease
Okay.
that a while ago earlier in the year with the Undisputed Championship storyline and Drew being screwed out of that.
Okay. All right. No, hey, you know what? Maybe perhaps that is something that they will revisit. We'll move on to our next match here. And I got something to say about this. Okay. Put it on the screen here. So, just like I said, I thought Fatal Influence was going to go over. And they did. But then right after the match, and something was telling me, you know what? Don't be surprised if they lose, which I had them losing, if the Bella Twins turn on Paige. That's typically a Bella Twins move. You know what I mean? But the justification for it did not make sense because they insinuated, oh, no one takes my spot. No one takes my place. It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen on this panel, but didn't they call her out of retirement? Didn't they call her,
Bingo.
yo, such and such, she's hurt. Can you come, and take a spot at Mania? It was supposed to be the Bella Twins. Then the injury happened. So then now they had to call Paige. That doesn't make any sense. Like, what? Sean, I know you saw the same thing, man. What's up?
You're supposed to have selective memory. That never happened. This is wrestling. That didn't happen. But no, so I would have, if I'm sitting in the back and I see that one of the Bellas is hurt, I'm calling an audible and telling them don't do the heel turn after the match because now we've got to replace the other one. I'm calling an audible automatically, and just the whole thing was just you just saw it coming from the slow setup in the ring to when everybody left, and the fact that Fatal Influence won the match and they weren't the last ones left in the ring. It's just like, oh well, here we go. And like you said, we've seen this before. They've turned on multitudes of people. It's very Paul Heymanish. Their list is just as long.
Yeah.
So it's just, for me, it's just a stale storyline at this point. And if it's a way to write Paige off in terms of going after her neck, okay, whatever. So we'll see Paige at Royal Rumble, I guess. But I think with, like I said, with it was Brie that was hurt, correct? I think with Brie
Yes.
hurt, I'm calling down to the ring, hey, tell Nikki not to do it because now we've got to rewrite this shit anyways.
Yep.
Exactly. And the crazy part is okay. So I mean, Tyler, you heard me last week. I was fawning all over Fatal Influence, right? And I
Yep.
want so
We
bad
both
to
are.
talk about their performance. You know what? I'm gonna just get it out the way, okay? Look, Henley, Reed, Jace, great performance. Great performance as a trio at a major
They
PLE.
carried this match. They truly
Hats
carried
off
this
to
match.
you. They did. They really did, and I really liked how they got over. But the ending, the justification for the ending, it overshadowed it. But Tyler, what do you got, man?
Yeah, so hence Brie Bella doesn't get hurt. I think this sets up the return for AJ Lee to be Paige's partner. But now it's like, what do you do? Second thing, Nikki Bella was the one that even said, I made the call. It wasn't Brie that made the call at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And this is just another classic, and I love to always say this to my friends. It's just another classic Bella Twins botch.
Indeed, indeed. But we'll see what
It's
comes up. I would
I'm
now
happy
to your
Fatal
point.
Influence though. I'm
Yeah,
happy
yeah, yeah.
Fatal Influence
No
won. I
doubt,
forgot
no
to say
doubt.
that.
But Tyler, I actually am hoping that what you said comes true. With AJ Lee coming back and tagging up with Paige against the Bella Twins, and now we get a PG era throwback match. You know what I mean?
Either that, or if you remember when the women's evolution started.
I thought. But what'd you think?
Yeah, I think they did well to protect the ending of this match for down the road when it can be more of a thicker storyline. Obviously, Punk got thrown into this kind of early in July, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, Cody's going to take his rematch, so it is what it is. I thought the match was decent, and then of course, you figured something was going on once the ref went down. The one thing I will say, I'm concerned how slow Randy gets in and out the ring. I don't know how much time he's got left because that wasn't even, he had to run down and get in real quick, drop the RKO, and then he left very gingerly even after the RKO.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how many more matches he can actually, go through with. I think we're probably to the point where we're seeing Randy at just big time events, Survivor Series, Rumble, Mania. I don't think he's going to be carrying long storylines, but he does. I know from his perspective, he wasn't happy with the Mania ending, so I'm sure he wants to at least wrap this one up before he even thinks about where we're going with the end of the career.
Absolutely. And now I want to pass on to Tyler. Your thoughts about this match?
Yeah, so from the match type, we kind of talked about this. This has been a dream match for a lot of people, Punk Rhodes, right? There
Mm-hmm.
was a dream match, Sean, that me and Jay were talking about that happened at WrestleMania 38. That was kind of like the same thing, slow and took forever to get to the big pop. Edge versus AJ Styles, right? That's what this match reminded me of. I will say though, it's interesting to know, and I kept telling my dad this when we were watching it side by side. Cody acted very heelish the way he was wrestling.
Yeah, you see it coming.
Very heel.
You
And what I
see it
think's
coming.
gonna happen is, I don't know if you gentlemen noticed, when Randy stood up after the RKO, he kind of like winked at the crowd, winked at the camera, right? I think we're getting a double turn here.
Mm.
I think Cody's going heel on Randy for screwing him out of the WWE title, and then Randy can come back, go face, and be like, I'm taking you out because you literally took me out for 4 months
Mm-hmm.
of my career. So I think we're getting a little double turnish here, and I think we're going to see face Randy back because we talked about this with Mania, right? Randy being the heel just didn't work, and Randy's a great heel. It's just the crowd missed him so much from the last 2 years that he was out when he missed it, that they want to support Randy, and I'm all for it because Randy's one of the most badass wrestlers we've ever seen in WWE. Plain and simple, he's one of the greatest of all time, arguably top 5 all time in my book.
Right.
I want face Randy back against a heel Cody. I want heel Cody.
Yeah.
Stop teasing it
Mm-hmm.
and pull the trigger
Sean, I
because
don't
the
know if you
more you
saw clips.
tease,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
the more you tease it, the less people are going to want it. For example, when they kept teasing that AJ Styles was coming back after the bloodline took him out, we would see the signs pop up. Then when AJ came back, he was barely getting
They're actually going to do it, and then especially now, you figure, especially with the history of Kevin Owens turning on people, if he is the next contender from Punk, I could easily see a Owens heel turn here, even after the pop last night. Everybody's happy to see him back, but it's not been something they've not done before. So I could see him being the one they turn heel in terms of the SmackDown roster, because I think if you look at the ages of who's carrying the SmackDown of the face side in terms of Punk and Orton, that's where the hesitation comes, because these guys being older obviously are more injury risk and even more prone to wanting having more time off than Cody wants.
Right.
So I think that comes into a lot of play, and it's basically Cena all over again. It may be a long time before they actually pull it.
Yeah, and you know what? That was one thing, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to move on to the main event of night one. The only way and reason that I can see them not turning Cody heel right now is because they're promoting Street Fighter. And in the film, he plays Guile, a good guy. So they may see it as, well, we can't have him go heel and he's playing a good guy on film. You figure it works for Roman Reigns and Akuma, right? Now, Akuma's evil, but Reigns is cold blooded just as the tribal chief. So that kind of fits, But it's going to be hard to pull off if you turn Cody heel. Do I still think they should do it? Hell yeah. But they may see it as it's hard to turn him heel when we're promoting Street Fighter and he plays a good guy in the film. But who knows what they're going to do. We're going to move on to the main event of night one. And you know what, Tyler? Just go ahead, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, in case you are unfamiliar, my name is Tyler Sumner, and this is a segment of the show where we get into talking about the ruler, the destroyer, the bringer of war, the mountain that Brock Lesnar ultimately had to retire on, the king of the ring of 2026, Obafemi, retired Brock Lesnar. Now, I have to give credit to Sean. He did say one thing, and I didn't see it until then, but then, you know what? After what Triple H said and everything, and fully living out part of Brock's career, it had to close the show. So that I will give props to. Brock had to close the show.
Right
I
on.
mean, and then
Now,
especially
I
with
will
the
say
ring
this.
tearing up, they had no choice.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, that, to me, actually, in that match, that's the moment where Brock literally said in his head, yeah, screw this, I'm done. When he dropped to his knees on the 2x4s, that was the match. That was the moment in the match where it was he decided, like, yeah, I'm done. Now, the match
Mhm.
itself I thought was good. It was a good match, but it could have been a no holds barred match and you still did the same things. Why do you advertise it as a Hell in a Cell match and you only are on the outside of the cell for about 2 minutes of the match? I get it. Brock is slowing down. He's 49. Still one of the greatest conditioned athletes we've ever seen walk through the door in WWE. I think Brock Lesnar is top 15 all time. That is my opinion. But those damn steel step shots, holy shit.
Yeah.
I literally thought that Oba was going to start having early stages of CTE.
No,
The
someone
way
needs to
Brock
tell him
was
to put
hitting
his
him.
hands up. Like I appreciate the visual, but just long term, he can't be doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Get your hands up, Oba. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
The
It's
way his
okay.
braids jerked back when he took the first and the third one, because the second one he put his hands up, but the first and the third one he took like a champ.
Hold on a
Dude,
second.
the
Hold on,
third one
Sean.
was like the worst
What,
one.
1 second. One second, Tyler. Sean, did you see the same thing that I did? After the third steel step shot, Brock dropped it on his chest.
Yeah, no, he was, it's just one of those things where it was like, okay, let's just make sure he's awake.
Exactly. And then the fact that he got up from that, I'm like, this man is not human.
Yeah.
I thought one of the most cool like shots of like camera work of the match was when after Brock delivered the fourth German, Oba just stood up right behind him and was like, it's go time. I want to give credit to Brock on one thing too as well. For a guy who doesn't deliver a tombstone ever, that was a pretty damn good
That was a
tombstone.
spot on tombstone.
I loved the callback as well because I definitely think, at least in my opinion, because again, I wasn't around for the early stages of Brock in his career, like 03 Brock and stuff. I think Taker is Brock's greatest rival of all time. In my opinion, others could say Kurt or whatever, but
I would say
I think
Angle,
it's
but I'm not mad at that take.
I think it's Taker, at least from me being the youngest on the podcast.
It's all good.
I think Brock thinks it's Taker, but based on the last 10 minutes of that match, the sitting up and the laughing in Oba's face was a callback to their SummerSlam match where they both sat
Yep.
up and laughed at each other. And then the tombstone, like you just mentioned, was another call. And he didn't. There wasn't really any other opponent he did a callback of, in terms of Lesnar. So I think
No.
Lesnar feels the same way.
Yeah, and that was one of the other callbacks too that I really liked. The way Oba sold that kick out of the tombstone was beautiful. And then, him getting up and I'm thinking, okay, Brock's gonna F5 him now. Brock might win this. Like, there was a solid chance. There was a solid 2 minutes in that match where I'm like, Brock could win this. And then Brock goes to hit Oba with the chair. And if you read my newest article, ladies and gentlemen, Oba punched that chair so damn far that it probably left the city of Minneapolis and went over the border into Canada.
That was
like,
an insane.
He went
chair
bam.
punch.
He hit that ball like Aaron. He hit that chair like Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Like, and then he picks him up for the fall from grace. 1, 2, 3. Solid match overall. I probably give the match a 7 out of 10.
So
but
real
what
quick,
happened after the match?
Did you catch Lesnar look over at the wood and smile like, shit, we missed it by 1 inch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, whatever. We got 99%. Screw the 100. But he's like, damn it. You could just kind of see like, oh, that was my final resting place and he missed it.
And he missed it. Yeah. There was a
And
reason
it wasn't even
Oba's
Oba's fault. Brock is so heavy, as he lifted him up, he had to shift his feet to keep him. So it was
Yep.
just a magnitude of the weight going up. It wasn't even like Oba tried to protect him and not do it, like he wasn't comfortable with doing it. Like it wasn't that way. He dropped him immediately. It was supposed to be where it was supposed to be, but just a couple
Yeah.
of inches off.
Yeah, but the other thing
Mhm.
too is, and I want to have lengthy a little bit of a conversation with you guys about this. Hats off to Oba and Brock
Mhm.
for what happened after the match. I genuinely think that was a shoot. I don't think Oba knew because you saw the way the handshake happened, and Oba was
He was
like,
shocked.
"What the hell's going on?" And then
Mhm.
Brock gave him the hug. The only time we've ever seen anybody else do this with Lesnar was Cody Rhodes. Now, when Brock did that, who did Cody Rhodes go on to beat at WrestleMania the following year?
Roman Reigns.
The parallels tell itself, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He
No, I
just
hear you.
passed the torch to Oba, and I like how he kept it simple too, where he said, "Oba, come here, congratulations. This is the future. This is the past." To
Yeah.
me, that's Brock's way of saying he's done. I know that Oba and Brock have formed a very close relationship um, behind the curtain, and Brock's kind of been a mentor to Oba, and you can kind of see it when they work inside the ring. And I'm going to go as far as saying this for a bombshell.
Mhm.
To me, just this is just my opinion because I'm younger than you guys.
Mhm.
You guys,
Hey.
whenever you guys talk about the WCW stuff, I just have to sit back and like,
Mhm.
okay, cool, yeah,
Mhm. Hey,
um,
sorry, Tyler, real quick, because we got to get on the night two.
yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. This is a top three Brock Lesnar rivalry to me.
That's fair. That no, that's very 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 fair to say in this one. I mean, like I said, also on YouTube, pretty much just said the. Oh, Sean, did you have anything to add before we move on to night two?
No, I think I'll just echo it. And Triple H even said Brock doesn't just grab the mic, and that for me, someone who's watched, obviously all of Brock's returns, he's never really grabbed the mic. So that says all in terms of it being a shoot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so now we have reached the midpoint of the show. We still got the cover night two, and we also got Tyler's 5 count and the numbers guy enter the vault. You are watching this live on the Sideline Sports and Entertainment Network. Follow, like, subscribe. Now let's get on to night two of SummerSlam. And boy, how did it start off? So it was advertised that we were going to get a one-on-one match. Then Nick Aldis decides to come out there and says, "Hey, you know what? Let me, see if I can do right by Gunther and throw him into the match. And then let me find a way to piss Gunther off and add KO to the match." And so we got Kevin Owens returning for the first time in 17 months. He gets the win in the matchup. Sean, real quick, your thoughts about the match?
No, I think it needed it. I think, as much as Finn and Sammy are good wrestlers, they both struggle with, character in terms of behind the scenes, in terms of direction right now, and that's not their fault. But it is very vanilla, two guys like that in the ring. So it's good they added to it. I was surprised that Kevin Owens basically carried the first 8.5 minutes of that match. But I think he was out to prove a point that his neck is good. And he said it on the post show. He said, "I'm gonna go all out until they tell me to stop, and that may be 2 years from now because I'm gonna do it a certain way. But we're gonna do it that way." So at least you're gonna get 100%. Obviously he's taking a risk, but he did say the scans are clean for now, but it could come back later. So we'll see what he does with it. But again, just kind of like Solo. Anytime there's a loud pop, I mean, think about when they broke up the Shield. No one thought about it. Like these two could still be on the cusp of heel turns, even though the pops they just got, this past night. So,
Yeah,
especially with the way Punk is entrenched, I don't see them turning Punk heel anytime soon, or
No.
probably even before the end of his career at this point. So, if they needed another heel on SmackDown and don't want to do this next, another face versus face matchup for the title, I could easily see them letting Kevin Owens fill that role.
Yeah, I mean, Owens just got back. I don't foresee him going heel because I foresee a feud between him and Sami Zayn. Now, even though last night they both did hug in the ring, and then then ironically Kevin Owens got the fall on him. So Tyler, real quick, your thoughts on this match?
yeah. I'm very happy. This moment with Kevin Owens was the first start of like tears almost started to come out of my eyes because I love KO. They didn't come out for this match. I will talk about when they did come out during the night. We'll get to that later. Um, I'm going as far as saying this. Let Kevin Owens take the strap off Punk.
Okay.
Kevin Owens hasn't had a world championship around his waist since Oldberg decided just to take it off of him. Don't get me started on Oldberg. I'm sorry.
Sure, you were a fan
He
of that
ruined the
move there,
feud.
Sean. So,
He he
oh,
turned
go ahead. I'm sorry.
he ruined the Fiend, dude. He ruined the Fiend as well, by doing that thing. But I'm so happy that Kevin Owens is back. Um, I'm excited to see what he does. And you know what? He is gonna carry the feud with Punk, dude, because it's gonna be such a damn good feud. These guys have ROH history together. It's gonna be a damn good feud.
Yeah, no, indeed. And so we'll move on to our next match. So we have a new. This was the first of three title changes. Was it three this night? Yeah, it was. Uh, so we've got Corbin coming back, winning the United States Championship for a second time over Trick Willie. Controversial finish. Sean, take it away. What do you got?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is one of those things where you brought someone back and felt you couldn't get him a loss real quick. I still don't think Baron is great on the mic. We saw that in the post match interview. But I think this is them kind of saying either they're about to elevate Trick into the heavyweight title picture, or they're saying, hey, you do need to take a step back and freshen up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it may be the latter, just because it does. I think it's also time for him to ditch Little Yachty. I don't think it does much for him. It's not adding to his popularity, and it's not really doing much for his matches other than expecting some sort of stupid involvement from Little Yachty. So I think we need to ditch him. But I wouldn't be surprised if they move them down a notch for a little bit just to see, and then I'm sure they'll build them back up. But this could be a sign of they're gonna move them back down a little bit for a little while. They've done the same thing with Braun Breaker, same thing with Dominic Mysterio. So it's not a knock. It's just we've got other things going on right now. Creatively, it doesn't make sense to continue to push you that direction.
That direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I can accept that. But I mean, we now have more contenders like in the mid card for the U.S. title. To celebrate that. So real quick, Tyler, your thoughts about this match?
Yeah, I thought the match was fine. Nothing exceptional. Nothing great. Baron Corbin at the end of the day. Um, one of the better looking finishers though with the end of days. I've always thought that move is clean. And it's very well protected too. The only person to ever kick out of the end of days was Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So I mean, cool for Corbin to win the title coming back, but doesn't really move me in a way. I think the next guy to take the title off Baron Corbin should be Johnny Gargano. I think we
Or
should give
two.
Johnny
Mm-hmm.
wrestling back instead
Okay.
of him just laying down on the back of the bed.
No, yeah, I know exactly that. I mean that right there. I don't know what's going on with creative, but he is so much better than that. But no, indeed, great for Baron Corbin. I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's back to being. I'm probably more glad he's back to being a lone wolf than him even winning the United States Championship. And as far as Trick Willie, not ready for the main event season just yet. I think he's going to hold a mid card strap a couple of more times before they go ahead and catapult him. And now for our next match, you know what? I'm gonna let Sean lead this one off. Go ahead, man.
Oh well, I mean, honestly, the match was good, and the winner was shocking. Um, but I think the way she kind of stood there for like, well, it felt like 5 or 10 minutes that she was just upside down, and you just felt like it was waiting and waiting, and then you saw like one foot move slowly away from
Yeah.
being trapped. But I thought the match overall was actually pretty good. Lash Legend had some good spots. Tiffany took some amazing bumps as she usually does in those matches. But my only issue with this is, does anyone see her beating Rhea?
Yeah,
Nope.
that right
Nope.
there. Whew, that's gonna be tough. Now, here's the deal, though. Okay, because Rhea is out indefinitely. She has a tear. I think it's her meniscus. We
Yeah.
don't know when she's coming back.
Oh no,
So
I
it's
get
up.
someone else could be holding it, but I just if you're having Chelsea go any sort of length with it, like I feel like you're gonna have to give her an enforcer or something for her to be believable to beat anybody really for that part in terms of the larger women on the roster, Lash, Rhea, Jade, like it's got to be shenanigans.
I don't think it's going to be Chelsea. Keep in mind that the interim championship is won and defended just like the lineal championship. What I think is going to happen is when it's time for Rhea to return, or when it's kind of close to time or whatever, I think Charlotte Flair is going to beat her for it, and we're going to get our rubber match. But Tyler, what you think about this match, man?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick and simple just because of time constraints and stuff. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good match. The breakout star of the match to me was Lash Legend. I wanted Lash to win. I'll be the first to say that. I wanted Lash to win it. But my favorite gear of SummerSlam weekend happened to be by Jade Cargill. If you notice, she came out, dedicated her gear to Prince.
To
I
Prince,
am a
yes.
Prince fan. I love Prince. Prince is one of my all-time favorites. So shout out Jade Cargill for that. Great, decent match though. I think the most brutal spot of that match was Lash power bombing Tiffany on that ladder.
Oh, easily. Easily,
Like
dude. I was like,
that hurt.
ooh, because she bounced, and like you're not supposed to bounce off of ladders, off of metal, dude. Whoo, man. I know she woke up this morning feeling it. But no, great match, stunning winner. The way that she I'm sitting here looking at it, and when Jade and Flair like face busted off of the ladder off the top, and I'm looking at them like, wake up, Chelsea, wake up. And she sat up like the Undertaker and climbed the ladder and got it. And also, and last but not least, the dedication to Michael Hayes was phenomenal. So congratulations, Chelsea Green, and we'll see where she goes from here. Now for our next matchup, I'm not even going to talk about this stupid ass. Y'all go ahead, man, because this really was. Okay. I said it off the air, and I'm going to say it right now. Okay, I rated night two a B plus. It would have been an A if this match didn't happen. Sean, go ahead, man.
Well, this is the problem when you're trying to make a comedic act into a wrestler. It's very Doink the Clown, unfortunately. I actually think Danhausen is decent in the ring. Unfortunately, his character is dictated to act a different way. If you watched him before he got to WWE, he's actually a very technical wrestler in the ring when given a chance.
Right.
So the fact that they're making him do this comedic shit, and let's put money on a poll and it's fake bills, and now Dom has taken yet another loss to this guy. It just tells you as well that hey, Dom is either in backstage heat or just being shoved down the roster to be built back up later on in the year. Right now, he's basically just AAA champion, and that's it. Um,
Yep.
so it'd be interesting to see, but I don't know how much further you can actually go with him. I would have just honestly, the first was it like 6 weeks that they used him. He was just popping up and kind of being, I would have been fine if they just left him backstage for the entirety of his career.
Yeah. No, no,
Yeah, I agree.
indeed. And then Tyler.
I ain't got much to say other than our eyes were cursed. All right, that's where I'm leaving it. I know we got a next match to talk about. Let's get into that because that match, man. Congratulations to Chad Gable. Jay, take it away, my friend.
Oh yeah, man. This one right here, I have been waiting on for the last 2 or 3 years because I'd always said that Baby Curtis, Baby Angle, deserved the singles gold, and he finally did it. And who better? Because you figure you got two hometown cats coming, at SummerSlam. You got Lesnar, you got Gable. One of those guys has to win. You figure at least one of them. Well, if Lesnar lost, you kind of figure, all right, well, it's got to be Gable. I mean, they could have swerved us and had Penta retain. You know what I mean? But no, there was no better time than right now. Me personally, I think if Vince was still in charge, Penta would have won this match. But no, with Gable, it was phenomenal. He went out there, he wrestled his match. He didn't do anything funny or out of the realm or anything like that. He got the ankle lock when he got the chance. It was twice in total. The spot with the Mexican Destroyer on the outside, Penta didn't get all of it like he should have, probably cost them the match. But overall, and then to have Gable's family come in there and celebrate with him was great. Sean, what do you think, man?
No, I thought it was a great match. I think having Chad win is fine. I just think kind of like some of the other guys that have been around for a long time. His mic work has never really gotten past a certain level, so that the reign is going to be short. I'm glad they gave him a feel good moment. His longevity definitely deserves it. All the characters he's been through definitely deserves it. But I could see this coming to an end at Survivor Series or Rumble for him. And again, it's nothing against him. He's just one of the guys that never really picked it up on the mic.
Yeah. But if you think about it, Survivor Series or the Rumble, yeah, it's kind of a decent run, you figure, right? A couple months.
I think for him it is because again his character is limited to what you can do with it. Or again, you're talking about a heel turn to fix a mic issue. So
Indeed. All right, real quick. Tyler, what you got?
9.5 out of 10 stars.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
I knew it was over as soon, and you guys know this from Kurt's days. It was over as soon as he grapevined the leg.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
As soon as he grapevined it, I was like, yeah, it's a wrap. Because he was standing up and I was like, grapevine it, grapevine. All right, that's it. And then pin the tap. So but no, awesome stuff from Chad Gable. Of course, we're gonna see him tonight here in a few minutes. And now for the close of SummerSlam. Tyler, what do you got?
I'm taking the glasses off for this because, damn it, this shit means something to me, man. I cried at the end of the match when Roman went in and did the fist bump, and Rollins came in, did it, and put the mask down in the middle. I'm going to say this right now. This is just for me. I grew up with the Shield. I didn't get to grow up with Taker and Shawn like you guys did. I'm dropping the bombshell right here. This is the greatest match I have ever seen in my years of watching professional wrestling, from the in-ring storytelling to the callbacks to the
Mhm.
homage to Dean Ambrose. Greatest match I have ever seen in my life. I
Mhm.
10 out of 10 stars. Um I am so happy they closed this chapter on the Shield. I am happy that my GOAT, the greatest of all time, my tribal chief, did it alone. And I'm happy that Roman Reigns is still your World Heavyweight Championship. I got nothing else to say about this match other than what I just said.
Man, and no, I mean, absolutely A plus match on this end of the spectrum. It closed the chapter. They gave a nod to Dean Ambrose in more ways than one. Sean, what do you take from this match, man?
yeah, no, every time Seth and Roman have been in the ring, it's usually a banger. But they've done great to always go back even to like 2015, 2016, to recall the spear and the Triple H pedigree. And they did that a couple times last night, and they did it in different ways that we hadn't seen before. Even
Right.
the last spear where Roman goes and hits his head on the thing, that was typically the spot where Seth would reverse into the pedigree again. So I think they did great to change up some of the spots we've seen a lot of in their other matches. And I thought it was great. Again, when the ref goes down, I'm thinking, what can possibly happen here? We don't need to ruin the whole match
Right.
now at the end here. So it was interesting to see that they did let it stay clean, because when they went to the ref down, I was just waiting for Solo to come grab Seth in the corner when he's sitting there lying, because he was kind of looking around, and I'm like, all right, well, who is he looking for to come over the barricade here?
Yeah.
But I'm glad they let it end the way it did. I think in terms of Roman's current title reign, that's what needs to continue until they kind of decide where they're going, with Mania. And that's part of the reason I think, and we'll touch on it more next week. But Lesnar left that without leaving everything in the ring this time, because there's already rumors flying that he's got a big offer for 43.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I know probably my favorite part of the match, other than the end, was when Roman Reigns had the chair and he thought about it and he threw the chair down, and then Seth was like, "Oh shoot, what did he just do?" He turned around and Roman was like, "Nah, we're gonna finish this man to man, no chairs."
Well, and
So
if
like
you
for
look at it now, it doesn't make from a storyline sense unless they're tag team partners at some point. It does not make sense for them to meet again anytime soon.
No.
Nope.
If even ever again. But we're gonna move on to real quick. We're in the last 5 minutes of the show.
Yep.
So
We're gonna
Tyler,
speed run it.
I know you got your 5 count. Let's
Yep.
hear it,
Let's do it.
buddy.
Number 5 coming in here. If we can throw it up on the screen, Obafemi, Brock Lesnar. At number
Oh,
5. Do you have the
I
tag?
don't have the graphics, man. I don't have the graphics. Just
All
just,
right.
just go ahead. Hmm?
Yeah, coming in number 5, Obafemi, Brock Lesnar. Thought it was great. We already talked about this. Number 4, I got the Fatal 4-Way. I'm sorry, number 4, I actually got Cody Rhodes, CM Punk.
Okay.
Only reason it's in my top 5 is because of the return of
Mm-hmm.
Randy Orton. Number 3 is the Fatal 4-Way. Kevin Owens is back. You'll love to see it. Number 2 is Penta versus Chad Gable. And I literally just said what my number 1 is. It's my number 1 favorite match of all time. It's the greatest wrestling match I have ever seen. We're ending it. The Shield is done. The Shield can rest. Rollins can rest. Reigns, he can't go anywhere yet because I still need my tribal chief because we got a long road. And that road ends with the final destination being the ruler, Obafemi.
Obafemi.
That's my
And
5 count.
that's all it needs to be said. That is Tyler Sumner with Tyler Sumner's 5 count, his top 5 SummerSlam 2026 matches. Of course, he's going to be back with some more heat next week. But now we're going to move on to our numbers guy right here, Sean Russey. Enter the vault. What you got, big dog?
All right, we'll try to get through these quick. So August 3rd, 1997, Stone Cold actually breaks his neck on this day. Ends up being, I think, what he ended up going maybe another 15 matches after this. Not even, more of a GM role after this. I know he had a few bouts with Rocky, but he did not have a lot of matches after this. I want to say it was like 15 to 20 because he was out for 2 or 3 years, like Owens. Owens out 17 months, but broke his neck. Finished the match but broke his neck. And then on that same night, Bret Hart actually defeated The Undertaker to win the WWF Championship when Shawn Michaels accidentally hit The Undertaker with a chair, which eventually I think was what led to Hell in a Cell. And then 1992, August 2nd, Ron Simmons beats Vader to win the WCW World Heavyweights title. That was a major event because Ron Simmons, was the first African American to win that title. And to do it over Big Van Vader at that point, Vader was essentially the monster of WCW. So that was a big win. And, in our ending of this segment, as we've done now, is the WCW blunders. Dean Malenko, who has never been a heel in his life, used brass knuckles to defeat Ray Jr. And then in 5 seconds later, JJ Dillon reversed the decision because in wrestling the ref's call is not final. Someone's got a camera in the back. But another one of the great things WCW did.
Absolutely. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time. Thank everybody. Trying to be picking the takes, man. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll come back next week for more Top Rope Talk. For the numbers guy, Undisputed Sumner, I'm your boy Denzel Snipes. We will see you next week. Monday Night Raw coming up next. Later.